Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. I failed to turn the microphone on, the receiver, on the camera as I was doing this. So we are looking at a Zama C20-02 carburetor that's found on the late model Super XL and XL-12 Homelite chainsaws. This one is off of a saw I'm working on that video will drop here fairly soon, but yeah, I've already gotten into the carb just a little bit, and that's why I stopped and started running the camera there, because the minute I popped it off, the gasket tore, and well, you'll see, it was obvious that there was going to be some problems in there. So get these screws off, and again, I think you'll be able to see right away one of the problems. I certainly did. We've got the diaphragm and gasket that's reversed there. So obviously the gasket's torn. There's a little bit of, I am assuming, stale fuel that has dried up in there, and that's what the discoloration was on the aluminum. But there was also a little bit of moisture, because even after scraping the gasket and the stale fuel off, still had to run it over the wire wheel lightly to get rid of all that crap. So yeah, and of course it made cleaning up the cover just a little bit more of a challenge there, because the diaphragms don't stick to the covers, whereas the gaskets certainly do. So getting into this inlet side, we're going to find some more fun stuff. So you can see that was installed bass-backwards as well, with the diaphragm on the bottom of the gasket there, which is absolutely not correct. And the fuel inlet lever is really bent down. You saw the way that cover came off. It wasn't even, the diaphragm was not indexed into that metering arm. That little bit of water was just from me doing the wash off there. But here I'm noticing that inlet lever is sitting way too low. And normally what I do right here wouldn't be bad, but you see how easily that moved, and it's clear to me that this has been adjusted too many times before. Way too many times. So it didn't break on me, but boy, I sure don't like the way that little aluminum fork feels. So yeah, that to be continued there if I have to. I believe I've got a inlet arm laying around in one of my salvaged parts piles that I could pull off if I need to. But yeah, so you got to be really careful, unless you have a good reason to adjust it. Don't assume that it's out of adjustment from years of use, because that's not going to happen. That if it stays hooked as you're pulling the diaphragm off and bends it, yeah, that's one thing. See, I'm looking at it again here going, oh man, I sure hope this doesn't break. And yeah, it seems to be holding together. So the needle looks brand new. I think somebody just put this together with a good carb kit, but an incorrect installation, and then piddle dinking around with that inlet arm too much. So you can see this is one of the carburetors that has a removable high-speed jet, and that is a combination high-speed nozzle and check valve. So I'm not going to remove it. It's got a epoxy sealer around it there. The only reason you remove those is if you have a reason to. And I talk a little later in the video about what that reason might actually be. But we're going to get it cleaned up and come back. Okay. Let's go ahead and reassemble this thing. We're going to do it in the typical order. Reassemble the fuel pump side first. How about we do it in the right order this time? so that those check valves will actually seal. If it ran at all previously with the way this was set up, it certainly didn't run good. Tiny bit of gasket residue here that I missed. I'm not accustomed to it sticking to the cover because, well, the gasket should never be on the cover here. And the diaphragm always peels off really, really well. Alright. Okay. Let's button this thing up and do a pressure test. Before we get too far along, I want to see if I'm going to have any problems here. And in the wise words of my brother-in-law, hard to say not knowing. Okay, that is a point where we can absolutely find out, though. And I could go for one more cheesy line and say knowing's half the battle. And if you grew up on 80s cartoons like I did, you'll get that reference. Okay. Look at that. Moving just a tiny bit. My guess is that's going to be this new gasket back here. Yep, a little bit right there. Wouldn't be totally shocked if there was a tiny bit of leakage past that needle. But it's pretty damn slow if there is. So I'm going to run with it. And I will guarantee I can't hook this diaphragm up without releasing it. Ooh, I lied. I only released a little bit. That's a good day. Now let's find out if I've got it set to the right height. Now every indication is that I do. I am just holding the cover down with my finger nice and tight. Usually, as the diaphragm flattens out, if you have the arm too high, this is when you find out. I've mentioned it enough times. We've got to get the screws tight before we spike the football, so to speak. Okay. Still above zero. I am going to take that as a win and run with it. Oh, this was an Oregon carb kit, but it interchanges. The 384996 does interchange with the proper Zama kit, which I'm failing to remember off the top of my head, but I'll put in this video. Alright, another one. Again, very basic, very similar. Not a whole lot here. Now, why would I pull that high-speed nozzle out? If I get it on the saw and run it, and after I rev it, it immediately goes down to idle and dies, that could imply that that nozzle is either stuck with gum or the check valve is dissolved, and it's allowing air, crankcase pressure to go back into the fuel circuit and screw it up on the idle side. That's really what that thing's there for. So, not very common, but that's really the symptom you'd be looking for. So, I hope this helped. We'll catch you guys on the next video.